Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, August 18th of 2024. Now this year continues to be such an interesting roller coaster ride for me because like most of you, it seems like timelines are speeding up and the world is wacky, the energies are wacky. And I've done a lot of deep dives down a lot of rabbit holes, but also a lot of spiritual paths and things that I feel have strengthened my ability to be a functioning, productive human being and realize that we're here for a purpose, but also just to realize that a lot of times things aren't what they seem to be, and to separate ourselves out of the matrix a little more often so that we can really get grounded and realize, we're here for a short time, we're here for a purpose, we're here to have deep learning and deep growths. And I think we spend a fair amount of time in denial, just from my perspective, the things that I see, the things that I watch, the people I talk to. I think we spend a fair amount of time in denial about what is really happening and our own participation in it or lack of participation. So what I did in this week's journaling was I just wrote down some things that have felt to me a very beautiful path to grounding myself spiritually. Things that were given to us by Mother Nature, the universe, the energetic fields, the frequencies that we all feel, hopefully the frequencies that we're learning to tap into and realizing our own potential and our own power. So I just kind of wrote down some random things that I believe nature really helps us with. So I'm just going to go through these and then maybe expand on them as I talk about them. So the first thing that I really realized, especially because it's summertime here, the energies of the warmth of the sun and just the way it makes us feel, is, and I've read this before, but what I wrote here is the sun upgrades our DNA. We have been, I believe, lied to about what the damage the sun does to us. Now, I'm a person who was raised in a natural family. My dad, did what he did. My mom was all aboard with it. And we didn't get slathered in sunscreen. And as adults, and especially as a fair-skinned person, I don't think it's a good idea to let yourself get burned. And I've been very careful. But I don't avoid the sun. And I've had lots and lots and lots of sun exposure. And I've never had problems. But think about the statement of the fact that the sun upgrades our DNA. Just the fact that we get vitamin D from letting the sun touch our skin. In fact, vitamin D is not even technically a vitamin. It's a steroid hormone that your body produces when it gets exposed to the sun. And it's so healthy to get exposed to the sun. Think about the way that you feel. And that should be your first clue that maybe this is something we need to pay attention to, is that the sun upgrades our DNA. I really love that. Now the next one is this, and this is fun. The moon strengthens our psychic abilities. There's always this thing about the new moon every month and the full moon and, doing a parasite cleanse on the new moon. And there is something about not just the sun, the moon, the alignment of the planets, the astrology, and the deep wisdom that comes from really learning the language of all that and studying that. But when we tune in to the magic of the moon and its cycles, it has the potential to increase our psychic abilities. I mean, think about something that we might feel as a gut feeling. We get an intuition about something. And that has been beat out of us as modern human beings, is the ability we have as humans to tune in to our third eye, our gut instinct, the things that never lead us wrong. You might call that God source. You might call that being guided by a higher power. Whatever you want to call it. But there is power in tuning into the frequencies of the moon. And I know a lot of people, you might not know that, but I know a lot of people do know that. The next one I wrote, I love this. The universe is always listening. I really love the idea of quantum entanglement. where the things that we say, the words that we speak, they go out into the universe and they have meaning. If you put out positivity and you put out unconditional love, you put out joy and bliss and all of the things that have high vibrational frequency, then that goes out and has a ripple effect, just like throwing a pebble into a still pond. There are ripples that happen. This is real. And the universe is always listening to the things that we say, and when we throw out positivity and love, it affects the collective, it affects the whole universe. And I think if we think about that before we speak, we take a breath, we take a moment. And I'm not saying you shouldn't speak your mind or speak your truth or there's things that need to be said. There can be ways that we say it. There's a whole bunch of nuances that come along with that one. But that one to me is powerful. The universe is always listening. Here's something I love. And this actually, yesterday, I finished my walk and I had a wonderful experience. What happened is, as I was walking through my neighborhood, before I got down to this place along the river where I walk, where I do the majority of the walk, I passed this little family that had a little stand set up and they were selling the harvest from their garden. And it was a husband and a wife and their 2 little boys. And they had tomatoes and squash and they had cucumbers and little plants and they had a homemade limeade. It was the cutest thing. And so I stopped, I chatted with them, we exchanged phone numbers because I have a peach tree that's full of peaches, almost ready to harvest. And I'm like, why don't you guys come down, harvest some of my peaches? Next time you can add them to your bounty here. And so it was just wonderful. And this was just yesterday. So then I went down and did my walk. And when I came back almost to my house, because they were close in my neighborhood, they were still there. We exchanged hellos again. And as I was almost to my house, it started raining. And it started raining hard. And the way that you feel when you're maybe forced to be in the rain, I didn't have an umbrella. I had a very, very light, it wasn't even a really sweatshirt. It's like a kind of a sunblock shirt. It's long sleeves. It has a little bit of hood I can put on it if I want to kind of block my face from the sun, because I'm usually gone almost 2 hours when I do my walk. And I got caught in the rain and I was soaking wet by the time I got into my house. But then what I wrote is this: walking in the rain cleanses your aura. And it feels that way. It feels invigorating and it feels amazing to walk in the rain or run in the rain. I actually kind of ended up, I'm not a fast runner at all. I don't really enjoy running, but I picked up my pace and I kind of jogged a little bit to the rest of the way to my house because I was getting soaking wet. But the rain can cleanse your aura. And, be like a little kid, stomp in the puddles and jump, enjoy the rain, dancing in the rain. It really is, there is something about it. And envision it cleansing your auras and all of your chakras. I felt like $1 million, not only from my long walk, my interaction with this cute little family, but just the rain. It was wonderful. And then this: trees absorb negative energy. I think this must be why I love hiking so much. The trees along the trail, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of trees. And I'm a person who goes by and I touch plants as I walk by them. I will stop and I will look at a leaf and I'll just kind of look at the miracle. But if you think about the idea of trees absorbing negative energy, they stand, they're there, they're silent, sometimes the leaves will rustle in the wind and, but there's a strength and a beauty in a tree's just resilience. And, I love so much Mother Nature and the trees that, I can feel them absorbing any time I start off on a hike and I'm feeling some energy that needs to be released and maybe some frustration with what's going on in my life at the moment. The moment I start up on a hike and I brush past all these beautiful trees, that disappears. And so I have come to the conclusion that trees absorb negative energy. And if you really think about that and give it some, gravity in your life, I think you'd be surprised. I have a big, beautiful yard with a lot of mature trees at this point. And I love them. I talk to them all the time. I'm the one who prunes the ones, I have a couple of Japanese maples, and I have a beautiful twisted filbert that, it's a multi-trunk, and it's just gorgeous. And I'm the one who prunes it because I love to watch the way that it grows, and I just give it some TLC, and I can feel any negative energy that might be in me dissipate. It completely goes away. So when you are interacting or walking by a tree, first of all, notice it. The tree doesn't ask anything of us. It's there, and it's there to add beauty to our life, add oxygen for our beautiful breath, and it's an awesome thing to think about. The next thing I wrote here is that prayer works. And, I talk about this on a fairly regular basis. But when you have prayer in your heart, when you have the intention of a situation or a day or a conversation or a new business thing or anything that you're doing, and you started off with a prayer, prayer works. And this is something I was taught from an extremely young age. We were praying as a family over our meals. We would have family prayer where we would all kneel in a circle. Prayer is something that I have carried through from my childhood. I didn't do it so much during my teen years, even as a young mother through my 20s and 30s. It was more of a, it wasn't something that was so super intentional with the type of power that I know it has now. And as it's come very much full circle to me with deeper meaning. So I think the realization of intentional prayer can have powerful meaning in our lives. And then the next thing I wrote also is that meditation works. We need to disconnect our brains from the crazy, chaotic technology, the energies that are flowing around the world right now. And when we can still our minds and go into a meditative state, my favorite place to do this is in nature. And I'll tell you, when I am pruning my trees, there is a meditative state to that. And you don't have to be just sitting cross-legged saying Om to have the benefits of meditating. Leave your technology, leave your phone in your house, and go out and do something in nature. When I go into a meditative state, when I'm weeding, when I'm pulling weeds in my yard, it's meditative for me. And meditation works just like prayer works. You just need to be intentional about it and be in a realization of what it gives you and how it uplifts your frequency. We are these beautiful light beings of pure love, and we forget. Every day we forget. I forget, and then I bring myself back. The more you practice this, the easier and the better it gets. And then after that, I wrote this. I love this. Magic really happens. Miracles happen. The world is full of magic. And again, we forget. We drop into this lifetime. We forget where we were from. We forget, all of the beautiful things that our soul has already experienced. And we forget our divine connection to God. We forget all of these things. But when we start to wake up, we start to realize, we start to remember who we are, then the magic and the miracles happen. And you can rotate in your own realization of this. It doesn't have to, everybody that's in your life doesn't have to be feeling the same. Now, I will say that when you start to rotate in this type of energy, you will automatically lose people that don't rotate in the same frequency, and you will start to attract those who do. It's like the law of gravity. It's the law of attraction. It's the way that it works. So if we start to look at the magic in everyday things, in fact, on my walks these last couple of weeks, there has been an abundance of dragonflies, and I'm just like, now that is magical. And I think part of it is we need to kind of look at something that we might not pay attention to, but we look at it with new eyes. We look at it in a childlike, magical, how magical is this? And fireflies, well, this is actually dragonflies, are so magical. They're so beautiful. It's just reminding ourselves of the magic. And then everything is connected. I'm the same as you. You're the same as me. We're made out of the same stuff. We're different, but we're the same. And we're connected. We're all connected. And when we start to realize that, we are strong. We are this beautiful collective consciousness of just this sea of beauty. And I don't know how else to say it. We just have to realize that we are all connected. We can let the powers that be divide us, and we can get worked up in the moment, and someone might be trying to point something out that they see that maybe we need to pay attention to so that we can be prepared, and we let it get us triggered, when in what might be happening is there's an intention of love there. There's an intention of love from someone saying, hey, you need to pay attention to this, because then you can take this different path and be prepared. So I think if we realize that we are all connected, all the BS can just fall away, right? And then this, the ocean has the ability to trigger a psychological state of calm and contentment. I actually read this somewhere. I can't remember where I read that this week, but I'm like, okay, I need to remember that. So when I sat down with my journal a little bit later, I wrote that. So the ocean has the ability to trigger a psychological state of calm and contentment. Anytime I get the opportunity to go to the ocean and put my feet in the sand and just stand near the surf, let the water wash over my feet, not only do I feel grounded, I feel electrically connected, I feel literally grounded to Mother Earth. I feel contentment and I feel calm. And I believe that those of you who can relate to that, who have experienced this many times, multiple times, maybe at least once in your life, you can understand that this is true. And this is also another reason to get grounded and stay grounded. Every morning, it's really rare that I skip, but every morning my goal is to do 4 things. And this is easy to remember: fire, water, air, and earth. And it can take only a few minutes to do this. So the first thing is fire. Go outside and watch the sunrise, or be in the early morning light, because this is resetting your circadian rhythm, the rhythm of your body, the rhythm of your brain, the way your physical body responds. And that's the fire element. The water is hydrate. Drink a full glass of water before you eat or drink anything else. And this will make a huge difference in your life. The next one is earth. And this is where I go out in my yard with bare feet, and and this is where I'm usually looking at the mountains where the sun is rising up over the mountains. And so I'm getting the fire, and then I'm getting my feet in the ground. I've usually already had my full glass of water. And then the final one is air. And this is where intentional breath work comes in. I'll put below this video this little app that I've been using. A friend suggested it to me. It's a free app that you can download, and it gives you very short intentional breath work. Most of the time we don't fill up our lungs with a full deep breath. And this is something I've been doing now for a very long time. When I first climb into bed and I'm getting comfortable, I will intentionally fill up my lungs as full as I can, and you can feel it fill up to the very corners and every crack and crevice in your lungs. You can feel it fill up with oxygen. And I've talked about this before, because I kind of find myself at times during the day, especially when I'm a little stressed, breathing shallow. So in the morning, do 2 or 3 or 4 minutes of intentional breath work. And not only will it wake up all your cells and get the oxygen moving, but when you do breath work that includes holding at the top, where you actually hold your breath for a few seconds, and then release it at the bottom and hold it as an exhale for a few seconds, then it stimulates and decalcifies your pineal gland. I mean, there's a really a beautiful reason to do this. So to me, that's like a beautiful thing to come in, right? And then I wrote this. And this was just me asking questions of myself. What will the last 10 years of my life look like? Will you grow old with vitality? You know, this is something you definitely start thinking about when maybe people start thinking in their 40s or 50s. You know, I'm in my early 60s, and this is something I think about, but my habits and my lifestyle have been so really dialed in for so long that this is where the compound effect becomes extremely powerful. And, you know, this is for me a reminder for you to say, what is the last 10 years of my life going to look like? Am I going to go into my old age with vitality? And it's the habits that we do that compound into vitality. You know, there's a pretty famous picture of a woman who's 72 who got into bodybuilding when she was, I think her name is Clementine, but I saw this of her a long time ago, and she got into bodybuilding when she was, I think, 60, and there's a picture of her at about 72, and then there was a picture of another 72-year-old woman sitting in a chair, hunched over, obviously very unhealthy. And I think that if we realize that we actually have a choice, we have a choice in what our vitality looks like or doesn't look like. What does our body express? We have a choice, and it takes responsibility. It takes hard work. It takes, you know, releasing some of these things that don't serve us. So I wrote here, it's time to decide. And here's where this comes in. Discipline is the strongest form of self-love. When we have discipline to say, no, I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to, you know, drink that. I'm going to get up and move early, you know, early in the morning. That's the only time I have. I'm going to get up and do that. So discipline is the strongest form of self-love. It's ignoring something you want right now for something better later on. You know, this is the whole concept behind, you know, putting the work in and doing something that's uncomfortable. Like, you know, exercise is probably the best example, because exercise is still, it can still be tough for me. But I've reached a point at this part in my life where I've had so many sessions in the gym lifting weights where it's been tough, that you really do reach a point where you enjoy it. You enjoy everything about it. You enjoy working a muscle to failure. You enjoy everything about it. And I think that is the whole thing, right? Is that when we put off something that is a quick fix, something that's easy now, for something that is going to be better later, that's where the true magic comes in. Sometimes we need to get rid of our old lives in order for a better version of ourselves to emerge. And that's the last thing I wrote here. But I did hear this really amazing thing about eagles, and I want to share this at the end. So let me see if I can remember this whole thing. But apparently, the lifespan of an eagle is about 70 years. But when they reach about 40, so they have a very long lifespan, but when they reach about the age of 40, they have a very tough decision to make, because at 40, their beak is curved and blunt, their claws are no longer sharp, and their feathers are extremely thick. So it makes it very difficult for them to hunt, makes it difficult for them to fly. And at this point, an eagle has a choice. They can go somewhere and die, or they can take a very different path and extend their life, which is very difficult for them. So they can go up to the mountain, and they can, on the side of a rock, and this is actually what they do. They will break off their beak, and then a new, stronger beak will grow in. Once that happens, then they use their new beak, and they literally break off all of the old claws, and then their new claws grow in. And then with those new claws, they pull out all of the old thick feathers, and then brand new feathers grow in. It takes an eagle about 150 days to go through this difficult, painful process. But what happens after they have a new beak, they have new claws, they have brand new feathers, is they have a brand new, stronger, more resilient lean on life. They basically get the second half of their life, but they have to go through this very difficult process. And, I didn't research this on a super deep level. This was something I heard and something I watched this short video about, and I was just like, wow, that is really amazing. So I think the way that this situation can apply to human beings and where we get, if you find yourself in midlife, and let's say, okay, we have the same lifespan, hopefully longer than an eagle at 70, but say at 40, we find ourselves in a position where we are not in the best shape of our life. We haven't sharpened our discipline skills, and our body is not as strong as it needs to be. And we, at that point, can make a decision. We can make a decision to do the really hard stuff that might take us. It might take us 150 days. That's a good chunk of a year. It's about a third of a year. A little bit more, but about a third. And what if you actually made a chart, and you marked off on a calendar 150 days, and every day you did something really challenging that took discipline, that took maybe some willpower, whatever that might look like, and did the things that were really, truly tough. And at the end of 150 days, you have a brand new lease on life, because so many things change. I would be willing to bet that this would be absolutely life-changing for anyone, even someone like me who feels like I have really great habits and I'm super healthy. I think we can all improve, and we can also improve in things like our spirituality. We can become a deeper meditator. We can dial in our prayer or connection to God, and we can take 150 days and really go, you know what? My connection to God is going to be so strong in 150 days from now, stronger than it is now. So it doesn't matter what it is or where you are. I think this could be a really beautiful thing. So I hope this had some nuggets for you. I find myself in the most interesting place, because there's all kinds of big changes happening in the world. There's big changes happening collectively, politically, in our families, in our businesses, the world is shifting. The energies are shifting, and I believe that we can take advantage of them to help them upgrade our lives and upgrade our frequencies. Let's take this time and let it help us grow, help us be better, help us have more vitality and energy. And here's the thing, human beings are resilient, and we can get through these times. In fact, we are getting through them. We just need to connect in to our higher selves. Remember that prayer works. There's miracles that happen every day. Let the magic back into your life. Go back to being a kid. Be more playful. Don't take yourself so seriously, even when things get tough. Let life be tough. That's how it is. If you think that life is just going to be la la land, it's not. It's never going to be what we think it's supposed to be. Let's take every moment that we have and realize the beauty in being alive. There is beauty in being alive. Take those deep breaths. Fill up every single tiny centimeter of your lungs. Let the oxygen be in there. And here's a thing. When you get to full capacity in your lungs, hold it. Hold it for 10 seconds. Hold it for 15. Hold it for 20. You might get a tiny bit lightheaded, so maybe make sure you're sitting down the first time you try this. And then slowly let it out, and you will feel so alive. So I hope you have an absolutely beautiful week ahead. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think that the last 3.5 months. Actually, we have longer than that. 4 months, the last 4 months. September, October, November, December with 4 months. A little bit more than that are going to be absolutely chaotic and brilliant and beautiful and exactly what we make out of it. So stay tuned in. Keep your frequency high, you guys. I'd love to know what you think about all of this and any of this. You know, of that little list of things I talked about, what resonated most with you? You know, I'd love to hear. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a beautiful week ahead, and we'll see you next time.